Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of the Team Deakins Podcast, a collection of informal conversations between Roger and James Deakins and a guest. We never know where the conversation will take us, so listen in and see where it goes. This episode is sponsored by Aperture, a premier manufacturer of LED lighting with the industry's greatest variety of fixtures for your complete lighting needs. Aperture recently announced the new Storm family of lights. With LED white light quality that matches natural daylight and classic tungsten bulbs, plus extreme low-end dimming while maintaining color quality. Discover more about the new Storm lights and the complete Aperture lighting ecosystem at aperture.com. Today, we're speaking with a director who began as an actor. His credits include Boiling Point, the movie and the TV series, Accused, and most recently, Adolescence. We're pleased to welcome Philip Barantini. Philip, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, well,
thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. I'm a huge fan.
Well, we've got lots of questions for you, but let's start with our first, which is, how did you get to where you are today? Was this something you always knew that you wanted to go to, or did you start somewhere else and then end up here? What's your story?
I started as an actor when I was 15. I knew I wanted to be an actor from quite an early age, really. When I grew up in the 80s and I watched The Goonies, and that was one of my favorite all-time films. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a behind-the-scenes making of documentary, and it just, I don't know what it just absolutely blew me away. And I think it just made me feel like, I don't know, I wanted to be a part of that world. You know, I just found it so interesting. And I'm from Liverpool originally. I live in Manchester now, but when I was around 15, my auntie took me on a studio tour of Granada Studios, which is, it's basically a TV studios, and they have a long running soap called Coronation Street there, and you could go and go to the you could have a tour and you could go to the street and you could see, and I just remember again being like, oh my gosh, this is just incredible. But because where I'm from in Liverpool, I'm from a very working class background. I didn't really know anybody in the industry at all, but I was quite good at drama, and I enjoyed acting. And so I did some little classes and things like that. And then I did this show, Trial by Jury by Gilbert and Sullivan in a local, in St. George's Hall in Liverpool. And a local agency came to watch it, and they basically signed a couple of us up afterwards, and I was like, this is brilliant, I've made it,
wow.
But I soon realized that I hadn't made it, but it was just exciting for me, and then I got an audition, and I did my first job as an actor when I was 15 in a small BBC movie, which was an amazing experience, and I think from then I realized, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to be in this industry, At that time, I didn't really sort of have any ideas about being a director, because for me, like I said, directing just wasn't on the cards, because people like me don't become directors. That's what I told myself for many, many, many years. And, over the years, I sort of, my acting career grew and grew and grew, and I did some amazing projects, and then I got a little bit complacent because I didn't go to drama school. I didn't go to, I didn't have any formal training. I did some classes, like I said, but in terms of formal training, I didn't really do any, because I got this job when I was 15, and then, I just carried on working. But I was getting jobs, and then I think I got really complacent and became a little bit, not big-headed, but I just thought, every audition I go to, I'm probably going to get the part, which was like ridiculous, and a huge lesson, because I started to not get the parts, and I became slightly bitter about it, and friends of mine would be going for the same parts and they would get the role, and I would then be like, why are they getting the part? And it became quite a toxic, it was quite toxic really for myself, and I couldn't really get out of it.
Yeah.
And, I'm quite open about my, I've been sober for 10 years this year in March, but I went down quite a dark hole in terms of like my addictions and, alcoholism and things like that. And it didn't help. It really didn't help. I think the whole time that I was acting, I wasn't the type of actor that would come to set and just go, right, where do you need me to be? Let me do the scene, and then I'm going to go home. I'd always want to stay behind after I'd wrap, and I'd always want to be sat with the director, and I'd ask questions, and like, I'm just so interested in how it all works, But again, subconsciously, not because I thought, because I want to direct one day. It's because this world is magical to me, and I'm just so interested. And then as the years went on, and my acting career started to fizzle out a little bit, I needed to make some money. So I started working in kitchens as a chef, and I thought I sort of quit acting in a way. I told myself, right, I'm not going to be in that industry anymore because, I'm just not going to get the work, or I've sort of lost contact with the casting directors and things like that. But I thought that would be easy to walk away from it and to focus on a career in chefing, but it was just there the whole time. I just, it's just like, I need to be, I resented myself for thinking that way. And, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I guess I'd always wanted to try directing. So I sort of gave it a shot and made a couple of little things myself, just on my own, bought a camera and stuff, and made some stuff with some friends. And as it was sort of going on, I was like, this is, I could actually make my own stuff, and started writing some stuff. But all the time I was still like, nah, that's definitely not for me, because, I didn't go to film school. I'm not educated enough. I'm not of that world. So stop it, Phil. Just forget about it. You're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. But I just couldn't put it down. And what happened was, 9 years ago, I'd been sober for 1 year. And 9 years ago, my mum passed away very suddenly. And what that did to me was, there was a moment where I felt myself at a cross in the road, and I thought to myself, you can either really go off the rails here and start drinking again, and really, and it was close, or I can really make my mum proud and just give this directing thing a go. What have I got to lose now? I've just lost the most important thing in my life, and it doesn't get any worse than that. So what have I got to lose? Let me give it a go. And a friend of mine had written this short script, which is like 10 pages long, and it was a beautiful short film about mental health, about a young boxer. And I said to him, I was like, because he sent me to have a read of it, just to give him some notes, and he just said to me, what do you think of this? And I was like, I think it's beautiful. I want to direct it. He's like, yeah, sure. Okay, well, you've never directed anything before, so, we need to get it directed. And I think before, the passing of my mum and that whole mentality, I would have gone, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no way I could do that. Why would I do that? But I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I want to do it. And I'm going to prove to everybody that I can do it. And we did the short, and the first day I was on set, it was a bit of a mad feeling for me, because I'm so used to being on set as an actor, and not having to have answers, and not having to sort of give people, the jobs to do and things to, and so they're coming to me with these asking me these questions, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to tell you the answer to that, or things like that. And so it took me a little minute to sort of switch into that mode, But once I got into that, I was like, oh, you know what, this feels okay. This feels like I could I could actually give this a shot properly. And after we'd wrapped on that short, that my mind was clear then, and I knew this is the career that I want to take, and I knew that, you know, my mindset was that I'm not going to stop. I'm just not going to stop. I knew that I needed to get myself an agent in order to get some work, and so I knew in order to get an agent, I needed to make a couple of short films at least that stand out a little bit. Seconds Out was one of them, and then we did Boiling Point, the short film, which was basically the start of it all for me, and that's how I got my agent. But yeah, it's been a journey, and that was 2018, which when I decided I was gonna give it that was the first short I made properly. The Boiling Point, sorry, yeah.
It sounds like it was quite a coincidence or whatever that you actually worked in a restaurant for a while as a chef, you know, and then Boiling Point came out of that. It might not have happened if you hadn't had that experience, right?
Absolutely, and
But do you think?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it. The whole time I worked in the kitchens for 12 years overall, and so everything that's in Boiling Point was either something that has happened to me or I'd witnessed, you know. And so it was very easy to sort of to create that story, you know, and make it believable. I'd never seen anything set in that world in the kitchens or in hospitality that I'd watched and gone, oh yeah, that's how it is in the kitchen. You know, it's either, you know, it's glamorized, or it's, you know, it's made to feel it's comedic or whatever it is. But I'd never seen anything that was, you know, real and raw, and you could. So yeah, my experiences in the kitchens definitely have helped.
Do you think that you had a bit of an advantage just coming into directing because of your work as an actor and knowing you may not know how to work with a production designer, but you would know how to work with an actor?
Yeah.
Do you think that was an advantage?
Oh, 100%. You know, that is my. I mean, I think you know, now after so many years, well, you know, since 2018, I understand everybody's jobs. I don't claim to be able to do everybody's jobs, and I think that's why, you know, people are, you know, you hire the best people for those jobs. I have a sort of an idea and a vision of what I want, and we come together and collaborate. But for me, I think my strongest point is performance with actors. Yeah, because I understand actors. I understand, you know, how to sort of talk to them, and, you know, again, every actor is completely different. There's not one method fits all. It's you have to sort of really adapt yourself to each individual actor, and for me, you know, I've experienced working with directors who they don't really care about the acting. You know, I remember one term which has stuck with me forever was that the actors are just warm props. It's like, okay, you know.
Well, that was Alfred Hitchcock's opinion of actors, wasn't it? They were just kind of like props to move around.
A lot of directors have said to us that when they started out, they made the mistake of thinking they had to have all the answers. And as they continued on, they began to realize that it was okay for them not to have the answer and to ask the other people that were there to help, you know, what they thought or what all of that.
Yeah, it's so
Do you
true.
think that's right?
It's 100% right. And I think, you know, it's okay to, like, there was with me, I always like to give every single crew member, you know, an opportunity to have a voice on set. And it doesn't matter whether you're a HOD or whether you're not. It's you know, ultimately the best idea wins at the end of the day. And I think, you know, there was a moment in Adolescence when Sean Beasley, who was focus puller, we were rehearsing episode 4, and there was a moment in the hardware store when we had to pull from Stephen Graham's character to his daughter at the tills, and we were supposed to pull at a certain moment, and then he sort of pulled slightly later or earlier. I can't remember what it was now. And I said to him, I was like, okay, you were slightly late there, or you were slightly early on the pull. And he was like, but my instinct was to do it then. And I said, okay, let's have a watch. Let's have a watch of it again. And then afterwards, I was like, do you know what? You're absolutely right. That is the right moment to do it. Rather than, saying, no, that's how we're doing it. That's the only way to do it. It's important to give people that, that's the sort of the power to be able to speak up and have a voice, and yeah, I don't have all the answers, but I'm okay with that, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. I don't understand what you mean. Can you explain it to me? Or, it's because it's all part of the process,
Yeah. And it does seem that really the thing that only the director's doing is working with the actors. No one else should be doing that. And so that should be the strength that a director has.
Yeah. I think so. It's, I think Matt, who's my cinematographer, he has an incredible understanding of performance, and he's an incredibly empathetic and emotive cinematographer. So for something like Boiling Point and Adolescence, really feels the energy, and he's quite open to the actors changing. I always like to give the actors the freedom to be able to play a little bit. I think it's important that you don't sort of hinder them, unless there's a moment where you want to sort of, you want to capture the light perfectly in the sunset or whatever it is, and they need to be in a specific position. I think it's important to let the actors just be free. And I don't mean go ahead and do what you want. It's a case of let's rehearse and let's see how it feels, and then we can tweak it there. But I think I like to have a real. My prep is so important for me with actors, and it's not just about understanding the character, but it's understanding them as human beings and what makes them tick, and and what it's almost like being a psychologist in a way, trying to understand these human beings, and again, like I know how to sort of get some sort of emotion out of them without being overbearing or giving them too much anxiety, because actors are incredibly vulnerable, and they have to put themselves out there and be open to sort of really go in there, and I think my job is to protect them and make them feel safe, and know that they have a sort of a comfort blanket in me if they need to talk to me. But I don't tend to give lots of notes to actors. A lot of my, like I say, all the notes and all the working out of the character is done in prep, because then when we come on set, we can just have a real shorthand, and sometimes it's just one word, like slower, or things like that. And if we understand each other and we trust each other, that's a hugely important part of it, is the trust between both director and the actors. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's just best job in the world.
So can you talk a little bit about the process then? Say the movie Boiling Point, which just talk about how did you prep that? How did you work with the actors, and why the concept of
the single
shot?
And having that idea, did it make it harder to get financing because it was something different, and people didn't know about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the opening title credits of Boiling Point, you'll notice about 50 exec producers on there and production companies.
Yes,
yeah,
right.
We did actually.
That's because we were like, can you give us 50 quid or whatever it was, but
yeah.
but what we did have with Boiling Point, and I'll speak about the process, but what we did have with the feature was we had the short film as a proof of concept. It was never meant to be a proof of concept. It was meant to be for me to be able to get an agent, and then the idea was then that was the film, and it was 20 minutes and it was done. But the short did incredibly well in like festivals, and it was nominated for a couple of awards and stuff. But so it was kind of like a few people had asked me, would you be interested in turning this into a feature? And I thought about it, and we sort of went away and wrote a script. But the script for the feature was written with a specific location in mind. It was a restaurant that I'd worked in and one of my best friends owns. And so when we were writing the script, we were able to almost plan out the camera moves as well as we were writing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it come to the rehearsals and the prep, both Matt and I would sit in the restaurant when it closed, or it was closed on Mondays, so we'd sit in there on a Monday, or even on a weekend, we'd sit there and watch the customers and just try and get a sense of the flow of it, and then we sort of broke the script down into sections because it's just one continuous scene essentially. We broke it down into sections, and we shot designed the first section. We gave ourselves 2 rules. The first rule was that the camera wouldn't be allowed to float off on its own. It has to always be motivated by somebody. And then the second rule was that we never wanted to repeat a camera move because we needed it to feel fresh every time the camera's moving, and also organic and not too. Didn't want it to feel at the forefront. It always it always needs to be, a subconscious thing, really. And so we prepped it in that way. And then when we brought the actors in, we would do the same thing. So we'd rehearse the first section, and then when we were happy with that and everyone was happy, we'd then move on to the second section. Then we'd rehearse that, and then after we'd go back to the very beginning and we'd rehearse the first section, second section, and then the third section. Then we go back to the beginning and we do first, second, third, fourth section. And what that does is it makes it puts it in your brain as like a muscle memory thing. And so everybody knows where they need to be at the right times. And then we'd literally, for Boiling Point, for example, we had 2 weeks rehearsal, and then we were supposed to shoot it over 4 nights, and we would shoot it twice a night. So the first take would be around about 6 p.m. I think it was, or 6 p.m. just before it went dark, just after it went dark, sorry. And then we'd shoot it for an hour and a half, and then we'd have a break for 3 hours. I would give all the notes to the actors or, to the crew, and we'd talk through it, and then we'd do it again. And then we'd finish the second take, and then we'd all go home, and then I would watch them back that night and then make my notes again for the next day. So we were supposed to have 4 days to do that, which would have given us 8 takes in total, eight whole movies, each 1 hour and a half. But that was in March 2020, which was when COVID hit, and we actually got shut down. Yeah, so we only ended up doing 2 days. So we had 4 takes in total to choose from, and we ended up scrapping the first 2 takes because they were, in my mind, they were only going to be like dress rehearsals anyway. I knew that we wouldn't get them on the first 2, and we had to iron out a few problems. So then the second day when we came in and we knew we were shutting down that day, the pressure was immense. Not only is it immense because you're doing a 1 take, but it's also immense because now you're like, if we don't get it today, we don't have the film. And so we did it, and we did it again. And then it became very apparent that the first take on the second day, which was the 3rd take overall, was the one that we were going to use. Now, technically, it did have quite a lot of flaws. Matt and I weren't happy with that take. We were happy with it, of course, but it wasn't perfect. But the 4th take was technically perfect. However, the performances were much flatter because everyone was exhausted. And when I watched it back, and literally the next day we all got locked down in our houses. So I'm in my house, having gone through this, 4 weeks of whatever, 2 weeks with just like pre-prep, and then 2 weeks rehearsal, and then the 2-day shoot, and then I'm locked in a house, and I'm like, what did we just do? Like, we actually got the movie, And then I watched the 2 takes back, and it became very apparent that the performances in the 3rd take were great, and we knew we could probably fix some of the stuff that was, that we had issues with, like, reflections and things like that. We could fix, but we made that movie for 500,000 Yeah.
So you never thought that you might, because you were in the situation you were in, that you might try and blend from the 2 takes?
No.
In order to make it work?
We did talk about it at one point, but I got incredibly depressed because I was like, we've set out to do this 1 take and a true 1 take. If now we're going to cut 2 of them together, I just don't know whether it's, it just didn't sit right with me. And I thought it's Matt. I think Matt cried because he wasn't happy with the take that we'd chosen, and rightly so. but in hindsight, not a single person has ever mentioned the technical side of it to me. Not a single person. And it just goes to show, if you have performances like, what Stephen Graham gave and the rest of the actors, if the audiences are not invested in the performances and they're watching the 1 take and things like that, and there will be people who will be looking out for things, but we've lost
there
them.
Always are.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But what made you decide in the beginning that you wanted to do 1 take on that one?
Well, it all came from the short film, really. And I'd said to Matt when I was writing the short film, I said to Matt how I really want this to feel immersive and real, and I want people to feel like they're in the kitchen, and I want it to be fast paced, and I want it to be hot, and I want everyone to feel it and to sort of feel that anxiety and that pressure. And I said, do we do that with fast cuts and quick edits and all handheld and he said to me, well, we'd recently watched the movie called Victoria, the German film, which we were both blown away by. And he just said to me, why don't we try and do it in 1 take? And I was like, oh, okay. And then my brain was like, okay, well, you could do it. And I was trying to, I sort of was mapping it. I couldn't sleep that night, because I was thinking, how could we do this? But now we have to do it this way because, you sort of, the immersiveness of it is what I really wanted. And the other thing about it as well, when you're, for anyone who's ever worked in kitchens, the moment the service starts and the customers start coming in, there's no stopping until you close the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's all time pressure. As soon as a check comes in, you've got between 8 and 15 minutes before that food has to be on the plate and out. And you've got this constant flow, and it's nonstop, and it's relentless. And that's what I wanted it to feel like. And so that was the reason for choosing the 1 take in that. And then with the feature film, it was a case of like the reaction that we had from the short film. How can we replicate that? I knew it could be done because of, Victoria and Russian Ark and those kind of movies. And I just thought one of the first initial thoughts was, do we make the feature conventional, but maybe have like the first 20 minutes of the feature could be basically the short film, and Stephen's character collapses, and then we go into a conventional shoot, and we look at his recovery and things like that. But it just was, I was like, no, this doesn't excite me really. What excites me is maybe doing this whole thing in 1 take and really immersing the audience for an hour and a half. So yeah, it's exhilarating.
So when it went to the television series, though, that's not 1 take, right?
No.
And why?
Well, when the BBC approached me and said, would you be interested in turning this into a TV series? I thought we were done with the movie. I was like, that's it. And they said to me, I said, well, Stephen's character's, they said to me, is he dead? Did he die? And I'm like, well, I wanted to leave that up to the audience, really, to their, it's up to them, really. It's subjective. But if you want him to come back, he's alive. And so they were like, well, yeah, we do. And he was keen for it as well. But one of the things is like, with a 1 take, as you guys will know, it's like you only get a specific, if it's in real time, it has to be in real time. And, I wanted the TV series to go to these people's houses and to be able to see them at home. And, if you're traveling from the restaurant to the home, it takes an hour to get anywhere in London. So, You know, it would have been an episode. The whole every episode would have been on a tube train or on a bus.
Travel.
Yeah. So we had to knock that one on the head. But the opening 11 minutes of the series is a one take.
Yes.
And we just wanted to marry the two and sort of and then go into that. Yeah. But yeah.
It's funny. Were there other filmmakers that inspired you? The kind of work you've done. I mean, I'm including adolescence in this now. I mean, for me, it feels like it's an extension of kind of almost a British traditional mix of documentary and Ken Loach and that kind of filmmaking. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
are you aware of that? Was that in your head?
Yeah, and 100%. You know, Ken Loach, like one of my idols. It really is one of my idols. But you know, Hitchcock as well. Talking about Hitchcock, I think Rope was one of my favorite films back in the day, and you know, and just the way that he, you know, sort of deals with that sort of tension and keeps you on the edge of your seat. Alfonso Cuarón is another one who I'm sort of obsessed with, and Inarritu, is it? Inarritu's, yeah. He is again. It's just the there's so many, you know. I mean, people like Steven Spielberg, even from, you know, and Scorsese with his sort of long takes. But it's not just about the long takes. I think it's about what a movie does, like, and the feeling it gives you. And I know all movies should do that, but I think there's something about real character-driven, you know, pieces. And Ken Loach, is someone who deals with that social realism. Is a huge thing that I really love, and I love actors who can improvise and be in the moment and just really sort of, you know, if you can get an actor like Stephen Graham, for example, you just put a camera on his face and just leave it there, you're gonna be immersed in it, you know, and it's things like that I really love. You know, there's some times where you don't necessarily need big explosions, and which, you know, look, I want to do these kind of movies, but sometimes I think for me it's performance thing, and if you get an actor who is real, I think the word is real for me. It's like I just want things to feel real, and that could be set in space. It could be set, you know, 1,000 years in the future.
But you have to believe it.
You have to believe it, exactly. You know,
right.
That's important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I would rather see a movie where the characters are developed, and maybe it's an imperfect movie, but I'm more engrossed in it, than a perfectly technical movie with incredible effects, but no deep characters or character development. That to me is more boring, but there's that experience of living in someone else's shoes that is what movies give us.
Yeah.
Basically.
Totally.
I also think there's a connection between what you do and documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, the films of Fred Wiseman, in a sense, especially something like Adolescence, you know, you do feel you're observing a moment, but even Fred Wiseman edits. But no, sorry, I want to ask you then, how did Adolescence come about? Presumably on the success of Boiling Point.
Yeah.
Were you approached to do something else?
I was, yeah. I had a general meeting in, I think it was 2021, with Plan B, with Jeremy Kleiner and Didi over at Plan B.
And Didi,
who I love. And they said to me, we would love to do something with you and Stephen in the same format, but in this TV space, because it had never been done before in terms of, you know, a whole series in that way. There'd been obviously episodes of things, or certainly long sequences. You know, off the excitement, the anxiety of Boiling Point, but also the excitement of it, you know, of what we did and how we did it. I was equally scared, but also intrigued and you know, and they said to me, look, go away and have a think about an idea. It could be anything, you know, just come back to us with a couple of ideas. So I went to Stephen Graham and I said, look, Plan B want us to come up with something for this format. And so we were sat in the back of a car on our way to, I think it was like an event for Boiling Point or something. And Stephen just pitched me this idea. He said, look, what do you think of this? And because there'd been over the recent years, there's been a series of young boys picking up a knife and stabbing and killing these young girls, you know, and they are boys, they're children, you know, and we wanted to ask ourselves, why are these kids doing it? And so, you know, we thought, let's maybe shine a light on this. And so I wrote like a 1-page thing, an idea, and I sent it to Plan B, and they absolutely loved it. And then we got Warp Films on board to help with it, to produce it with us as well in the UK. And then we were like, who are we going to get to write this? And Stephen had worked with Jack Thorne, I think 6 times he's worked with him, you know, as an actor and writer. So Stephen rang Jack, and Jack was as on board as us. He was very excited by the idea, and then off we went, and we developed a pilot, and then it was originally developed with Amazon, and I can say that now because it has come out in the press. But it was originally developed with Amazon for a couple of years, and then they let it go after a couple of years, and then we went to Netflix with it, and they jumped at it. It's not an easy sell on paper, if that makes sense. It's a very nerve-wracking, and I understand why Amazon probably, you know, didn't want to do it in the end, because it's you know, you're saying that the script that we shoot is the script that's the show, that's the episode. Because, you know, usually producers and execs, they can sit in an edit and go, we don't like that, or let's reshoot that, or, you know, let's move that scene to that moment, this works better. Couldn't do that on this. So it's, you know, it's a big it's a different way of working for people. But because we'd done it on the feature, we came into it with a bit more confidence than most people. But, you know, it took a little beat for them to understand the process. And the way it worked was they would come in during the rehearsals. We had 2 weeks rehearsal per episode, and then we would shoot for a week. And during the tech week, which was the second week of rehearsal, first week it was just me and the actors, and we were getting it off the page, and we were playing with it, and we were making it, you know, come to life. Then the second week was the tech rehearsal, where every single member of the team is there. It's almost like, you know, you're shooting it, but we're just doing it stop start, making sure everybody's in the right place, making sure everybody's happy, you know, every single department. And during that tech week, the Netflix team would come in and they would watch the whole thing. We would run it in its entirety, and they would come in and watch it on the monitors, and then they would come and give all the notes that they felt it needed. And a lot of the time they were very good notes, minimal, you know, small notes, because they can't change a lot of things. You can't say, well, I think we should probably cut to oh no, we can't do that. You know, so it's using different parts of the brain. You know, it is an amazing experience. You know, it's exhilarating. It's like doing a play. I would imagine. I've never directed a play, but I'm sure it's the same, you know, feeling for a director.
And did you put it on paper, the plan on paper in any way? I mean, for instance, when we did 1917, we did a lot of schematics. Yeah. What did you guys do?
Well, yeah, we did. We the difference between Adolescence and Boiling Point was, like what I said earlier, we wrote the script with the location in mind. But with Adolescence, we had a script, and then we had to find the locations. But you have to find a location. For example, we knew for episode 1, the police station was going to be our main hub, because that's where the majority of the episode takes place. So we find the police station. So we're looking for a real police station at first. And then we couldn't find a real police station that existed that worked for the script and for the logistics of it. So then we decided that we were going to build the police station in a studio, and then we needed to find a house, the perfect house that was no more than 3-minute drive away from the studio. So then we did a full search, and you can only do a search within a certain radius. And so we did find the perfect house, and then Matt and I would then. Again, before we get any actors in, we would go to the locations. It was so important that we had the locations locked, and we were able to get into them very early on in the prep stage.
Mm-hmm.
Matt and I would walk around them with his iPad, and I would play all the characters, and I would do the moves, and then Matt would do the camera moves, and we would write it down on paper. He would use a program called Shot Designer, where he can animate that so that we could then show the rest of the teams, this is what we're thinking for this beat. Again, we broke the script down into beats. This is what we're thinking for this beat within the house for the arrest, for example. And then we knew also that it wasn't going to be physically possible for one camera operator to physically do all of the moves. So we knew it would be handed off. So there was 2 operators. There was Matt and Lee, and we then figured out when the camera would be handed off. And so once we had all of that down on paper, once the actors then come in, we can put the actors in the positions that I feel they need to be. And I would then show them where they need to go. And this is where the camera's going to be. And then the actors might say, it doesn't feel right to do this. Maybe we could do it this way. And then we just adapt. If we could adapt, we would adapt always, as long as it felt organic and not forced. So yeah, the logistical side of it was extensive, more so than we did on Boiling Point. But we had a lot more resources on Adolescence than we did on Boiling Point, and a lot more time.
Yeah. Did you feel? I mean, I say that. Did you feel? I felt watching it that I felt maybe you were restricted by the idea of the single take. For instance, you didn't do an episode in the jail with the boy.
Yeah.
Too far away.
Which would have been really hard, because it would have been a boy sitting in a cell for, an hour probably with nothing happening or whatever.
Yeah.
There's certain restrictions in the technique, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you were in a way, you're limited by that, although you're kind of, that's the thing. It's a balance, isn't it, between what you get from the technique and the restrictions it actually imposes.
That is the biggest challenge. There was multiple times that I wanted to go back to a certain character and figure out what they were doing at this moment. But you have to really sort of be on board with it and go, no, we can't do that. We need to just follow this person, or we need to hold on this moment. And we knew quite early on that we were going to tell this story over a period of 13 months. We said 13 months because we didn't want it to be a 12-month, thing. So we said 13 months because we knew that we'd also researched that from a moment someone is arrested to the moment that they may be going to court could take up to 13 months, especially in a murder case, so we knew that we wanted to have these episodes as windows into moments in time, and 1 hour in real time in these moments. We knew the first episode had to be the arrest. We needed to see this boy being arrested. We wanted the audience by the end of that episode to know that he'd done it, because then it becomes a why done it and not a who done it. And then we decided that we wanted to see the environment that this boy and all of the kids, what the environment that they were in. So we knew that we had to go to their school and see what the school system was like, and whether that had a thing to say about why this had happened, And then the third episode, we wanted to go back to Jamie and to be in a cell with him. It would have been impossible to do in an hour, just one person. But we knew we wanted to get some answers, and not all the answers. We just wanted to get a snippet into his brain a little bit, and to understand this kid and why he may have done this and what may have caused it. We also were very conscious about not blaming the parents. because we wanted this to be a normal family, and this could happen to anybody, to any of us. And it's, whose fault is it? It's multiple people's fault. It's not just the parents' fault. And then the fourth episode we wanted to spend with the parents, and to really sort of see the devastation that has caused, and how their lives have changed over 13 months, but how their lives have now changed forever. You know, I also wanted to be incredibly respectful to Katie and to her side of it, but we never see Katie. We see it in two pictures. But we do hear her voice. I knew I wanted to have her there as a presence, almost as a ghostly presence, if you like. So the composed music in the score in the series, it's a female voice, and that female voice is the actress who plays Katie. There's also the choir at the end of episode 2. Her voice is also part of that choir, and the very singular voice at the end of that choir is Katie's voice. And so it was important to me that she was across the whole series as well. But yeah, I can't remember what the question was. I think I answered the question, but I went off on a tangent.
No, I know. I'm really interested. I read that you actually shot episode 3 first.
Yes, we did.
And for me, that's I would say that's probably the most engaging.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's the most simple. It's two people in a room talking about.
But the performances are amazing.
Yeah, and I just, when I read that was the first episode you shot, I was kind of amazed because Owen Cooper, the boy, the actor playing the boy, is absolutely stupendous.
Yeah, well, the reason why we shot that episode first, in honesty, is because Stephen's availability he was on another project, so we knew we wanted to shoot, and we only had a limited time window with him. So we knew we had to get the ball rolling. So we decided to do episode 3 first. Because of that, it's the simplest. Technically, it's the simplest, but it's the most challenging for the actors. Certainly for a 13-year-old boy to be able to go toe to toe with the likes of Erin Doherty and really hold the audience and hold that performance. It was a very scary thing for me certainly in the casting process, because you're reading these scripts and you're like, I was, first time I read them, I'm very, I get emotional and I'm crying, and then the second emotion is like, oh, how the heck is a 13-year-old going to do this?
Yeah, right. Do that. Yeah.
I'd not really worked with kids before. I'd worked with a young kid who was 3 in a show I did, but never really worked with anyone that age. Certainly with that subject matter, it's intense. And so during the audition process, we were thinking, should we cast someone older who looks younger? And that's what we tried to do initially for various reasons. But it was very apparent that these kids, these slightly older kids, between the ages of like 13 and 15, you are still this young. Your body's different, your voice is different, your mannerisms are different. As soon as you hit like 16, 17, 18, your body changes, everything changes, and so it was really very apparent that we needed to cast someone of the right age. And we did an extensive search and really sort of put these kids through their paces, and Owen was a standout from day one, really. He was just, incredible. He's never acted before.
He never acted before. How did you know he was going to be able to sustain an hour, though, with a crew, in that situation?
And hit the right mark.
Acting against a very experienced, brilliant actress.
In all honesty, I didn't. I didn't know.
You didn't know?
Because
it'll be scary.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we did the read-through, everybody's reading the script and everyone's nervous, and you know what it's like. It's every read through that I ever did as an actor, I always thought I was going to get fired straight after it. But I was watching him read the script, and it was again nerve-wracking. And then we were going to start the rehearsal process like a couple of days later, Oh no, it was like a week later. And then on day one of the rehearsal of episode 3, I always liked to just sit down on the set and let's read the script, get it off the page, and let's just then have a chat about it and we can talk through it. And the first day is literally just that. So Owen turns up without a script on the first day, and I'm sat around and I'm like, okay, we're ready to read. I said, where's your script? He's like, do I need the script? I was like, yeah, we're about to read the script. Where's your script? He's like, I've learnt it. I was like, you've what?
Wow.
He said, I've said you've learnt the whole thing. And he's like, yeah, was I not supposed to? I was like, well, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, let's give it a go then. And sure enough, he learnt the whole thing. All the other actors are reading the script and they must have felt like, frauds or something. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah.
And how did the shoot go then? I mean, how many takes did you do? I mean, it was still, even though it's 2 people basically in a room, it was still choreographed.
Yeah.
The camera still had to segue from one character to another, from a wide shot to a close shot and stuff. So how did the shoot actually progress then?
Well, we did 2 weeks rehearsal, like I say, with that one. The first week was just me and the actors and Jack, the writer, on set. But Matt was also there for the cast rehearsals with his iPad, because if anything changed, he would be there, and rather than me having to relay that to him, he needed to be there. And he again, he also was able to speak up if he felt like he needed to. So that was the first week. Second week then was, again, like I say, the tech rehearsal. That episode in particular was the only one that Matt operated alone. And he had an easy rig, and we used the Ronin 4D, which is, you probably know it. It's just an incredible piece of kit, actually. And I don't think we would have been able to do this the way we've done it without that camera. It would have been very tricky. And then during the shoot, again, it was the same, pretty much the same every time, but there was slight changes in terms of, if a performance was slightly, I don't know, if Owen was slightly more aggressive in one particular moment than he was on the previous day, Matt was, again, very intuitive, and just, he would do something that's slightly different, or he'd go closer, or, things like that. And we were both very aware of that's how it had to be. He has to be open to that. And so I also said to the actors and all of the crew, unless something incredibly dangerous happens, if someone falls over, or if just don't stop, because ultimately if you can style it out and make it feel like it's still part of the scene, or the part of the episode, or whatever it is, the audience don't know what's coming next. We do, because we've read the script, but the audience don't. And we might get something really amazing. So don't stop and go, oh, I messed up the lines. Can we go again? I actually love it when actors mess up lines, as long as they style it out, because I think sometimes you get the best, because that's real. That's what we do in life, right? We nobody speaks perfectly all day, every day. And the little nuances and the little ums and ahs and these kind of things, I really, really love all of that type of stuff. And there was no sort of time limit on how long these episodes needed to be. I mean, I think Netflix probably would have told us to get lost if we'd have done a couple of hours per episode. But there was no we have to have a strict 1 hour. There was a bit of flexibility.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
I was going to ask you how you worked out the timing, but great.
Yeah, it was each take that we did for the episodes was slightly different time wise. We weren't keeping track of that really. We obviously were keeping track of it, but we weren't really bothered by, if we went over a few minutes on one take than the other take. So yeah.
And you must not have had any actor. There are certain actors that like to do something different every take. I mean, to add something new into it. But when you're doing a one take, that doesn't work, because so many people are depending on you to do it the same way.
Yeah.
So you must not have had any of those.
I mean, we in the audition process, and when we chose all of these actors, it was important to let them know that there's a strict formula to work to. However, if you restrict them too much, then they get very tense and it becomes very scary. And, so it was important for me to say to them, look, this is the script, but if you go off a little bit, that's cool. As long as the other actor who you're working with can pick that up. It's like playing tennis.
Yeah.
You're hitting the ball back and forward.
Yeah.
If someone drops the ball, the other person should pick it up and hand it back, and if you forget a line, for example, if you say you miss a line, the other person should pick that up and say, did you mean to say that when you said that, or whatever it is,
fill in.
I mean, there was a brilliant moment in episode 1, which is one of the takes that we didn't use. Episode 1, we used the second take, and I think it was in the third or fourth take. Faye Marseille's character is supposed to say, do you know Katie Leonard? That was the character, the Katie's name. Do you know this girl, Katie Leonard? And she said, do you know this girl, Katie Miller? And that's Jamie's name. And so Owen, when the camera came on to him or whatever, he just said, Miller's my name. Do you mean Leonard? And she was like, I do apologize. And I was watching the monitors like going, oh my God, this kid is unbelievable.
Really?
And there's other moments where he yawns, and it's the take that we've used in episode 2. Episode 3. He yawns in the middle of the take, and that was just him he was just tired because it was the last take we did of the week, and I said to him, he had a real sore throat that day, because we'd been doing it twice every day for 5 days, and it was the last day, and we had one take in the bag, and I said, look, we've got the take. If today's just a day of having fun, and if we've got the take, if something comes of it, then amazing, but we've got it, so let's all just go into this last take and just have some fun. And he said, I've got a sore throat. I said, well, okay, Jamie's got a sore throat today then. And so he went into it, and he says in it, that's the take that we used, he's like, oh, my throat's killing. And I was watching the monitor going, oh. And then when he yawned as well, and the yawn was just because he was tired, Yeah. Some actors wouldn't dare to even do things like that,
Right. Right. It's interesting. You mentioned Rope earlier, Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, the sort of one take thing. But you could never imagine doing Adolescence on film with a film camera, let alone what the camera Hitchcock used to have to use. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, that style of filmmaking in Adolescence wouldn't have happened without actually the piece of equipment you mentioned.
Absolutely.
With the modern gimbals and digital capture and the whole thing. But I felt there's a danger with a lot of new technology that it's kind of used just to show off. It becomes the technology is kind of driving the
story,
whole story, which is not the case with Adolescence.
Yeah.
I mean, I only kind of think sometimes I wanted to see other parts of the story. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're restricting me, but as you say, you're taking little pieces out of a 13-month period and saying, this is what we're looking at. This is slice of life.
Exactly.
Which again, to me, reminds me of like a Wiseman documentary or something where he's not there for 24 hours over 6 months or 12 months, but he's showing you parts of reality in an interesting way.
It's real humans doing, real human things and relatable things, and that's what we wanted from this. We wanted it to feel like it, like all of us. It could be any of us.
You certainly achieved that. Yeah. Were there any surprises in the whole process? I mean, what did you learn most from doing Adolescence?
I learned that, if you, like, for example, there was Jack would write things in the script and he's admitted to this now. He would write things in the script to test whether we, to test me and to test Matt, and just be like, I'm going to make them jump out of a window now and see whether they come back to me and say, no, there's no way we can do that. But the way Matt and I work is like, right, we need to jump out of this window. How are we going to do that? Let's figure it out. Or the camera flies off and becomes this ethereal thing at the end of episode 2. How are we going to do that? And we were like, has the camera ever been attached to a drone live and then flown off and then caught and then disconnected and we were like, I don't think it has, but we need to figure it out. And so it was the challenges were just so. Matt and I just love the challenges like that. But in terms of like what it's learned for me is, I think just really sort of believe that if the script is good enough, then, my job is not easy, but my job is easier because I just need to bring that those beautiful words to life, as best I can, really. And I think just for me, it's just like, really believe in yourself, but also your team and have trust in them. When we were talking to HODs and and people about this project, and we were interviewing people, we would say like, this is going to be a one take, and they're like, yeah, but not a true one take, surely. Yeah, it is going to be a one take. It's going to be a one take, and we're not going to cut at all. And they're like, yeah, but what if this and what if? And if they had any doubt whatsoever, we would be like, thank you very much. It's probably not going to be the one for you. But if you get other people coming on the calls and they're like, what? Oh my gosh! So you could do this, and you could maybe, and that's how you're going to do it. Oh, that is exciting. And then you're like, okay, you're the right person because you're on the same mindset, and also the excitement that I had for the project. It starts at the top, and my excitement and my passion should be, matched from everybody, and we all want to be on the same boat, traveling in the same direction, and paddling together.
Yeah.
So the project that you're working on now is not single take, right?
No, it's not.
So.
No.
Do you find it a little boring?
Yeah.
Is it a little boring?
Well, we certainly...
When we were doing 1917, one night we turned something on and it was the standard cutting, and we went, oh, wow, that must be so boring to do now.
Exactly. And plus, we finished much later on Adolescence. Everybody was finished by 4:00 because... we'd do the second take of the day, and then we were like, okay, what now? We're not going to do another one. So everyone enjoy the rest of your night. And we'd have like a 3-hour lunch because we would be, giving notes and resetting. But it's I mean, I just love film. I don't think I don't want to go into every project and do the, like someone said to me, is that you now? You're just going to do one takes. I'm like, I probably wouldn't. I'm probably going to run myself into the ground very quickly if I continue to do this.
I can see your next film would be a locked off camera like Ozu or something, and the characters will move across the frame.
No, but why? But why
not just surprise them?
Why do the same thing over and over again? The whole point where
but seriously, it's quite interesting, though, that. That there's different ways of doing the same thing. I mean, another director, somebody with another concept might take something like Boiling Point and do it very observationally with a fairly static camera and allow the chaos to cross the frame. I think it would have been wrong in that case for sure. You don't have the intensity of what you do with the camera. I think we both find, though, as being in the business, it's very hard to tell how much of the intensity and the anxiety that you feel watching like a Boiling Point is because it's intrinsic in the story and the characters who are getting so wrapped up, which you are, but is it also when is it going to go wrong? You know what I mean? It just goes on for so you wait. It's like you're watching a Formula One or something. Half of it is like,
when are somebody
going to crash? You know?
And
that certainly is the way when you're
well,
shooting it.
I was just going to say that's exactly how I feel when I'm watching the monitor, because it's like I've got this thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, this is an Aura ring, which is like, it's a bit like an Apple Watch or something that tells you your heart rate and all those things. And every day during that shoot, sure enough, between 10 and 11 o'clock, my heart rate was through the roof. And then again, between 3 and 4 o'clock, again, through the roof. And it's just, I was like, I know that this ring works because it's very true.
But I've said to enough students before that if you don't have that, if you don't feel that stress, it's because you don't care.
Yes, exactly.
It's a good
so
thing.
why do
so
it?
True. It's so true.
Why do it?
And also, like, going back to being boring, it is boring. You got to, each day is like, you got to think outside the box and think, look, this is the scene. How can we flip it on its head a little bit? How can we, make it a bit different? Like, we did a scene on yesterday on this movie I'm doing now, and it's two people sat on a cliff, basically on the edge of a cliff, and we thought about the coverage, and we're getting coverage, but as we're doing this one, it's a locked off shot, but it's from behind them, and it's it's a big wide, and they're just small in this frame, but the conversation that they were having was so, and like, I found myself just sitting up and really like staring at the screen and paying attention, because the conversation they were having, it was so emotive, but I couldn't see their faces really, because it's at night as well. Yeah. But I just thought, I immediately was like, I think I'm just going to use this shot for this scene.
Oh, really interesting.
Yeah. See, that's the power of film.
Yeah.
Doing the things that make you feel a certain way, even though they don't follow the rules, because someone else less adventuresome would say, oh, we have to see the actor would probably say, I want to, why aren't you seeing my face? But
well, I hope the studio, whoever you're working for, the producers, don't force you to use different cuts. Be careful what you shoot.
Yeah, true, very true.
Denis Villeneuve would shoot a shot and let it go, let a scene go in a big wide shot, and I'd say, well, shall we go in for coverage? He said, no, they might make me use it.
It's true. It's actually, I'm working with Legendary at the minute, who did Dune as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good advice. I did get coverage. I did get coverage, but maybe in future I'll just say, no, that's it. Let's move on.
Be careful. It's been really great talking
honestly,
to you.
Thank you for this. It's so interesting.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I wish you so much luck. I think your work is striking.
I mean,
looking forward to seeing what you do next.
It's an absolute honor, because likewise, I'm in awe. I've been in awe for many years of your work. So this is a real moment for me. I'll be honest. So thank you.
Good on. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nice to
I'd love to do another podcast where I can interview you guys and talk about your stuff as well, because I think we'll be there for a few days, because I've got a lot of amazing.
Anytime. All right, Philip. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. Thanks. Good luck with your shoot.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to sponsor the Team Deakins podcast, let us know at pod@teamdeakins.com. Thanks for listening. If you want more information and further discussion, check out the forums at www.rogerdeakins.com. Becoming a member is free, and you can ask follow-up questions there. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more new questions and topics. Also, check us out on Instagram at team.deakins. See you next time.